So we're going to start with column number 1 or section pie slice or section number 1. And we're going to go right here in this thin area. And the first pattern, and we're going to do a separate pattern in each section. So this one is, we're going to do piano keys. All right, so all we're going to do is we're going to draw these, just these lines. So we're going to first start to draw lines, just vertical lines. Then after we fill it, once we fill this up, then we'll put in the piano keys. So it doesn't really matter what kind of space you leave, and nothing has to be even. Just put in some stripes there. And then with piano keys, think of a piano key as we draw this little rectangle over the lines. And the key here is not, no pun intended, the key here, not to do all of them, but to do some. So I might skip this one, and then I might do 3 in a row, 2 or 3 in a row. And you could go a lot slower than me. I'm going a little bit faster just so you can see what I'm doing, but I want you to really relax, take your time. So I might do 3 here, skip a line, and then I'll do 2. And you can make this any, you can do whatever you want. You all know that.
Jackie?
Yeah?
So we're only doing half this one, not the whole thing, right?
Oh my goodness. No, we're doing the whole thing. Thank you for
Okay.
pointing that out to me. As soon
Okay.
as you started to say that, I knew exactly what you were saying. That is my error. So thank you. We're gonna. I was thinking that was really quick. So thank you. Nope, the whole thing. Keep catching me with things like that. See, that crease throws you off. All right, so we're going to move on to the next pattern. Remember, if you don't finish, just go back to it anytime. I don't know if I'm too close here or not. Okay, so the next one, we're going to go section 2. We're going to do Xander. So I'm going to turn my tile to get a more comfortable angle here. So with Xander, we're going to create these bands first. So they can either just be an arc, or what I'm doing here So I'm kind of doing a hook. So I'm going up, above, and down below. Create kind of a hook. You don't have to, just an option. Then I'm going to leave some space and do it again. Doubling that up. Or you can just draw kind of an arc like this. That's fine too. So just a couple, so there's lots of big space in between. And then we're going to start to draw these lines that are kind of broken up, that go underneath, never over. So very gently, barely touching the paper, just drawing these lines that are kind of broken up. And then we're going to keep doing that on either side. And they could be solid lines too. You don't have to break them up if you don't want to, or you might do a variety of them. But the whole idea starts to look a little bit kind of like a log, but it, you know, again, Zentangle, not supposed to look like anything, but sometimes that's what I see with those. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next one. I hope I'm not going too fast. I know they're very small areas, so. And the next one is Eenies. Now, Eenies is just this kind of a teardrop type shape. And now you can keep going the same direction, but what I'm suggesting here is to reverse it. So I went this way. Now I'm going to go the opposite direction. So it's that flux, the shape of the pattern flux. I'm going to keep alternating directions, nice and slow, breathing, relaxed. And then from the point here in the bottom, I do a little bit of a line and a few dots. Do that with each one if you'd like, or you might want to do something different, but we just put this kind of an arced line, slightly curved, with some dots. The other thing I like to do with Eenies is to give it a little hairpiece or a beanie. So basically I kind of just give this arc line somewhere on the top or the side.
So it's eeny, beeny, miny, mo?
Eeny, meeny, eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Well, we've got enough for them, and yeah, you're funny. There should be a pattern called eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I'm going to have to work on that. Maybe you've got one you can. So in the background here, I'm going to put in some little orbs, because that's what the original Zentangle pattern shows. But you can put in anything you want. You might want to color it in solid, leave it white, maybe do some graphite later, or you can put in these little orbs. Now, if you notice, some of, like I think Kathy, maybe even Joan, if you looked at theirs, they did the same pattern going all the way around, which I thought was very nice as well. So you might want to revisit that to see what that looked like if you don't remember. But that was really cool. Like in this, with the section that we're doing now is what I'm talking about. Like they did the same pattern going all the way around. but we're going to do a separate one in each one. So now I'm going to go to number 4, which is Shattuck. And Shattuck you can do straight or curved. And I think I'm just going to do in between. I'm doing a slightly curved. I'm just kind of doing a zigzag. So I'm just going to go zigzag, going up. You can do it going, either way you want. Just put it in some kind of a zigzag. Not worrying about if it's curved or straight, unless you have a preference. And then on the first section here, we're going to aura this line. Filling up this whole triangular section, either with straight or curved lines. And I like to color in the very first one or last one, how we want to look at it. On the next one, we go the opposite direction. So we start to aura that line that we drew. And then coloring in that last bottom. And that's an option. Now when I go to the next one, instead of oraing from top to bottom, I can start right from the bottom and work my way up. So you can do whichever one you want, as long as you focus first to make sure you know what direction you're going in. And then the next one, number 5, is just printemps. So just what we usually, many of us have already done this many times, drawing that small letter E. You can do it frontwards or backwards. And then we're just gonna keep doing them. Having them touch. And when they touch, you can just add a few lines if you want. So it might look like it's going behind. You can also color in, which I will do, the background. Although I like to wait till I'm done before doing that. Boy, we did a lot so far. Look at that. Much different pace than what we started off with last week. So I'm going to move on now. And don't worry, if you're not done, there will be time to go back today. So just want to keep it going a little bit. So Barber Pole will be this one here. And for this, we're going to draw some bands again. But try to make them different. You don't have to, but I'm suggesting making them different widths, right? So maybe I'll leave some space and then draw maybe a thinner one. And then a thicker one. Doesn't matter how many. And what's going to then in the what you want to do in between these bands is I want to draw a line, 2 lines in the middle, so I know I'm going to keep that part white. And I'm going to color in either side. And then I'm going to draw an aura on either side of this band. Now you can do this on the bigger sections or the smaller sections. I'm going to stick with the smaller sections because it's less coloring in, but anything goes. So remember, if there's any of these patterns, because you have the list of patterns, this is for everybody listening to the recording or on right now, that if you forget how a pattern is drawn, or you want to see different variations of a pattern, just take the pattern name, put it in Google, and type Tangle pattern after it, or Zentangle after it, and lots of wonderful things will pop up. I like to go to images when I do that as well. Or just go to tanglepatterns.com, wonderful website. It has pretty much all of these patterns except for a couple. So, all right, so I'm going to move on now. That's Barber Pole. And the next one is Tipple. Okay, so Tipple is just orbs, just like we did over here. And for this, now you can either, okay, I think I want to do it this way. Yeah, so what I'm going to do, now you can either fill it up like with a whole bunch of orbs like that, or you can do almost like we did with printemps. I'm putting a circle right in the middle. That's why I'm going to do this one. And then I'm going to bring in my circles or orbs on either side. And that's how I'm going to fill this up. Now they can be oval or round. And you might, I'm going to turn my tile when I go upside down because it's easier for me to draw these orbs on the other side. And then I'm going to just color in the background. Now, if you want, which I think I'm going to do, just to make it a little bit more interesting, is I'm going to give each one of these orbs an inside aura. Totally optional. My inner artist is telling me to do that, so I'm going to pay attention. But if your inner artist is saying do something else, pay attention. But you know that. After spending 6 hours with me last week, I'm sure you know that. Okay. And I might even put something else in there, but first I'm going to color the background. Remember, turn that tile for a comfortable angle.
Does seem like those circles need something in them.
Yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put little circles inside. And this is actually a pattern that I created not too long ago. I think I put it on the, I think it was the Zen 10 I was doing a few months ago. So, and it's also on, probably a step out is probably on my website under Jacki's patterns. But that's what I'm going to do here. Just putting in little tiny orbs. And again, if you want to do something different, you can. Or you could just keep it as orbs, which is very cool looking too. So the next pattern, I'll give it another minute. I see some of you still drawing, so another minute. Okay, so the next pattern is row row. I really like this one. It's really cool. I think I've only taught it once before. And so now what we're going to do is have it, so we're in section 8. And we're going to first draw these arc lines. So I'm just going to go like this and then back up. And we'll do that all the way across. This is setting up the foundation for this pattern. We're going to come down, arc, and then arc, back up. Back down. And up. It almost looks a little bit like Shattuck with the zigzags. And now in each one of these that we drew, we're going to put in some lines. And we're just going to aura the first line we drew. Again, very similar to Shattuck, but it does look a little different. And we're going to do the same thing in each one of these triangular shapes that we drew. Just focusing on the top ones here.
Just mine does not look.
What's that?
I'm on, I should mute myself. Mine just doesn't look like that, so I don't know what I did.
Oh, let's see what you did. I don't see. See, I can't see. Let's see. All right, hold it still. Hold it still. Let's see. I don't see it yet. Move it. Why don't you put your finger where it is? Okay, now move it over a little bit to your right. My left. I still can't see. Move it more over to your right. Your right. The other right. Keep moving it that way. Keep going. Keep going. Okay, there you go. There you go. Oh, I see. So you started filling in. Oh, I see. Yeah, that looks fine. Just keep going with that. You know, yeah. I mean, you did it the same. The only thing is, you started to put in this section here rather than this one, and your lines might be going differently, but that's okay. Everyone draws what they're meant to draw. Now for the next section underneath, for these, we're going to draw lines in a different way, and they're going to be vertical. So I'll start here, and I'm going to, in a moment, I'm going to turn my paper so I have a more comfortable position. But that's how we're going to fill out all of those other sections. So I'm going to turn my tile because it's easier for me to draw these vertical lines going in this with this angle. I'm going to do the same thing in all of the sections that are left. And now for doodad, it's similar to piano keys, but not really. Similar to where we're going to draw these vertical lines. Oh, I'm sorry, these were horizontal, right? Well, whatever. You know what I mean if I say horizontal or vertical, just know they're the lines. Okay, so for doodad or doodah, what's a doodad? When we draw our line, first I'm going to go from top to bottom, but I'm not going to touch the edge. And I'm going to put a little lollipop circle at the end of it. And then we're going to reverse it. So this is a pattern that needs focus, and for me it does anyways. So when I do the next one, it's really from the bottom up. And then I don't go to the end, and I put in a little, I think it's like a lollipop, little bit. So I showed you from going that way just to show you, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to start my next one from here because it's easier for me to draw from top to bottom rather than from bottom to top. But the idea, every other one comes short of the edge. Nice and slow. Focus, breathe. They could be different lengths. No perfection in Zentangle. And all of these patterns we're doing make great borders. You can see because they're very thin. So they all can make a good border. All right. So now we're going to do Boulder Builder. Somebody mentioned that last week, that they threw that in there. Maybe it was Bonnie. And here's how I draw Boulder Builder. Think of stones or bricks all out of order. So first we draw a line, leaving some space there. And then I'm going to draw another line. And then I'm going to draw another line going horizontally. And maybe one over here. So they never line up. The whole idea is we're creating different size sections. So now when I draw my next line, I think it's going to be a little bit thinner than this one. So different size. The whole idea with this pattern, all different sizes. And then I'm going to draw a line somewhere, again, off-centered, but that doesn't line up with another. Now I can even draw a line like this. So dividing that into another section and maybe even another line there. So you really can have as many different sections as you want. Think of a brick wall or a stone wall. We're creating this look. Now we don't want to focus on what it looks like, but I say that to give you kind of an idea of how to draw this pattern. It doesn't have to look like a stone wall or brick wall. But the whole idea is to have all of these different sections, different sizes. And I always start with drawing a line and then drawing another line off-centered, maybe dividing that. It's fun. Fun pattern. And when we shade it, it really makes it. So.
Jackie,
Yeah.
the last time we did this, I think we filled in the corners, so it made it rounder.
Oh, okay. So let me show you all what she's talking about, and this is totally optional. Actually, I think that is part of the pattern. Thank you, Magdalene. So on these corners, you could just put a little weight on them. And You can do this. So what I'm doing is I'm kind of curving it, taking a corner and just kind of rounding that. This is called rounding. Thank you so much. That does definitely make a difference. And I'm going to do this sporadically. So taking just a corner and just rounding it. Just like that. Yeah, that definitely. Thank you. That really made a difference. Now the next one is, we only have 2 more to go on this. E-mingle. So e-mingle is kind of like a square printemps. So we start, you can start any direction you want. This time I'm just going to start a straight line down. I'm actually going to trace right along the edge here. Come up, come in, giving it an inside aura. We're just going to keep going in. And then when I draw the next one, I'm going to give this one an aura. So I'm going to draw that straight line right down next to that one. I'm tracing right along the edge, but you don't have to. And each time we come around, we're going inside. It doesn't matter what direction you start in. And this is one I also like to put weight on the corners. This is totally optional. So when you go, like in each one of these corners, I'm just going to do just what we did on Boulder Builder, whatever it's called, Boulder Builder. And I'm just kind of giving it a little weight on the corners.
Excuse me, Jackie. I
Yeah,
missed the name of this one.
e-mingle.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, e-mingle.
Right, I remember now. Thank you.
Yeah. And on your list, it's number 11. And if anybody needs me to send them another list, let me know. Some of you may have taken my class where I was wearing a scarf that a friend of mine brought back from Greece. And it had this pattern all over it, the whole perimeter. And I'm like, and it was really weird because I had like just taught that pattern. And then she gives me this, this scarf. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, it's called Greek Key, Key.
Oh, you were in that class. Yeah, I think you told me. No, somebody.
No, but I knew it from before.
Isn't that funny? And here, yeah. And I didn't know that. Okay. one more to go for this section. And then I think we'll do some shading. And then we'll review, we'll do the rest of the grid patterns that were not on the recording. And then we'll do our four corners. And we'll have a break soon as well at some point. What time is it? Oh, wow. Okay, we'll do a break after shading. So last one here is betweed. And the way I'm going to do betweed for this one is I'm going to draw a line trying to get a square shape, right? This isn't totally a square, but that's what I'm shooting for. Doesn't have to be perfect. I think that's good. So betweed starts off, I'm going to start in this left corner. I'm just going to focus on this section right here. We're going to focus on one section at a time out of these blocks. So I'm going to come up and I'm going to go as far up as I can and kind of curve a little bit. And then I'm going to come from the bottom right section, do the same thing. I'm going to trace on the edge, curve over, and I'm going to touch that previous line a little bit lower than where it lands. Now, getting it started is a little awkward, but then once you get it going, you're going to just alternate these lines from corner to corner. So every time I draw this, it's going to land on the line on the opposite side. So here I'm going to draw, I'm going to land a little bit down from where the line I just drew. So I just drew that one. I'm going to start from over here and I'm going to land a little bit down on that, and we go back and forth. And you do the same thing in each one of these sections. Now if you want, you can actually start, sometimes I think I've seen Maria start way up here, like just to get it kind of going. I've tried different things. Otherwise, if I start here and I just come around, I have this big white open space, but that's okay because I'll show you in a second. I can either leave it like that, I could fill it up with something, or what I'm going to do is I'm going to do another section right in here. So I'm just going to alternate these lines to fill up that section. So that's just an option if you have these. Looks like I might be able to do it here as well. Betweed has a lot of different variations, lots of different ways you can use betweed that are so much fun. So I highly recommend, if you like this pattern, to kind of look it up and look at different variations that you can do with it. Maybe I'll do a class just on betweed. Now, here's an option for you. If you want, you can put a little weight, like we've been doing, on the edges of these lines. So let's say right here, this line touches right about there. I can just give it a little bit of weight right there. So I'm almost like drawing this little arc. Actually, I think we'll hold off on the shading and just keep going. Let's see, how are we doing? Yeah, I think it's, finish tangling. If you're still doing some tangling, let's tangle into a little break, just a couple of minutes. Well, it's 3:55. It's 4 o'clock, we'll start up again. I'm gonna pause the recording. So this pattern here, now I made it real big. This really could have been done in a grid with more sections, like we did when we did this, we drew a line down the middle, and then we drew this in half, and then again in half. So we had 4 sections, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit better here. And so this really, and same with Buttercup, we made Buttercup real big as well. But this again can be in more of a grid. This is kind of big there, which is kind of cute. It's very cute, but just so you know, when you do this another time, you can have more sections, more grids. We made it real big here. So we didn't finish this one, right? At least I didn't. So what we did here is we drew this line. Actually, I'm going to show you on scrap paper, and you can do it with me on scrap paper if you like, because I know that not everybody, I know Laura wasn't here for this, I don't think, and so I'm just going to show, because I know Laura got bumped off. So if I draw a box, we're just going to draw a line down the middle and then across. So we got 4 sections. And then in each section, we're drawing an arc line. So from corner to corner, I've got this arc line. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, going the opposite direction. And then on the bottom, a different directions to create a diamond. And then we're going to aura each one of these arced lines. So all of you, if you can just continue working on yours or whatever you haven't completed, just work on that. And then for those of you who need a review, you can be watching me. It'll be on the recording as well. So there we've auraed all of the arc lines. And then we've got a little point in the middle, and we're just going to start to draw lines from that point in each section, fanning out. And they can be straight, curved, doesn't matter. So for those of you who don't know, or I don't know if I mentioned it when everybody was on, but when I did the recording, I only had a certain amount of storage, so it didn't record the whole class last week. So I'm reviewing the patterns that didn't even get on the recording, just in case you guys would like to review it someday. And then all we're going to do after that is draw these little arcs in the middle of each one of these sections on these lines, coloring them in. I'm just going fast just to show you. And then we're going to aura each one of these. And then that brings us back to our tile. We'll aura each one. So I'm going to move on now to the next pat. Are we okay? Can I move on or? All right. I'll just move on to the next one and then. So the next one, it's so funny because I didn't realize it was just like Huggins. Little, yeah, but with this cool pattern in it. So this was the pattern. Take another piece of scrap paper. So it's warped eggs. And if you draw a dot grid, and then you alternate with these arc shapes, drawing warped eggs. And then we mirror it. So the next one is kind of, if I went like this, it would be the opposite direction. So this went on the outside, right? This way. Instead, I'm going to go this way, mirroring it, and then this way. And then opposite, mirror, mirror. So if I go back here, and I'll do the same thing. So this is, we never go over. So you could see how you can go like this, right? We're going to mirror those and then mirror this. Because you never cross lines. That's another way to know what direction to go in. And if that would have looked awkward if I went like that. So, and then we opposite, like that went this way, so now we go this way. This is a pattern, if you're not getting it, you got to just practice it. But think of mirroring, opposite directions and mirroring. And then what makes this warped eggs is we put the same pattern in each one. So we put this arc or a circle or an oval in the middle, and then we aura either side to fill up this section. I'm just going fast to show you. And then for this one, I would turn it. So it would be the ones always going kind of the long way. So I would turn this and then draw that oval shape or circle in the middle. And then draw these lines. So this is warped eggs. So I'm going to go back to my warped egg section and work on that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring these lines out to the edge. So the next one we did was bales. Bales is a nice, easy pattern. Is a very common pattern, and most of you know that, maybe not everybody. So, and there's so many different variations to bales. And basically bales is just drawing a grid. It could be curved lines, straight lines. I'm just going tic-tac-toe, right? Tic-tac-toe board. And now from each section, we put a little arc, section to section, point to point, and that's all it is. And we do that on both sides. And then when we're done with that, we go the other direction. And then we would do that all the way down. And this is bales. And there are so many different variations to bales and so many things you can do with this. So, and I did some of you attended my Opus class. We did, I think, 30 different ways of doing bales. And on the VIP page on my website, which you're all should have access to, you can see all the different variations of them. And there'll be copies of the Opus tiles there as well, and so many different variations. So what I think I'll do with this one, let's see, I think what I'll do with this one, so I think I'm going to do an inside aura. And if you can leave it as is. You can do whatever you want with it. But or you can do what I'm going to do. I'm going to put an inside aura in these square sections. And I think I'll divide that in half. And then I'm going to divide it in half again. So actually I have to kind of do an X in that. And now I'm going to color in every other one. Actually, maybe I should, yeah. So I'm going to do that with all of them. Inside aura, create an X point to point, and then color in the two on the sides. Again, you can make it your own, do whatever feels nice to you. It's just one out of many ways to spruce up bales. Now, if you haven't been to that VIP page, I highly recommend you go there. There's lots and lots of stuff on that page. And if you can't get in, you just send me an email and I'll fix it so you can. But I think you all have access to it. And there's just a lot of really cool stuff on there. Lots of samples of variations of different patterns. Every single Opus class I ever taught is on there with the mosaics and little notes on what we did. Also, every Opus tile I ever drew is on there with instructions on how I drew it. So I think it lists every pattern I taught in our classes in Zoom 2020. Okay, so I'm going to move on now to the next one, and this was funnels. So funnels is a really cool pattern. It's a combination of Cadence and Huggins. So I'm going to get my scrap paper out again and show you on here what we did. So it's another dot grid. So we just put in some dots, create a dot grid. And on every other column, we're going to do cadent, right? So we just got that kind of an S shape. Skip this one. And then when I do the next, wait a minute, could be wrong here. Wait a minute. No, I'm wrong. The next one, we're going to do it, but we're going to mirror the cadent, right? So we go the opposite direction.
That's not mirroring, is it?
Yeah, it's mirroring. It's facing each other. These two are facing each other like swans.
Okay.
Well, we call that mirroring.
All right. Got it.
It's confusing. And then the next one, we're going to go opposite. So everyone is opposite. So I would just start that again. And that is not mirroring, is it? Yeah, that's okay. I just want to make sure. Dun. Yeah, that's right. So if you don't want to, if mirroring confuses you because it's not mirroring the whole way through, just do like every other direction. So each column is every other direction. And we're just going up and down. You're not going to turn your tile. In Cadent, we return our tile and do the same thing. But we're not going to do that. We're going to turn our tile. First, I'm going to make sure I'm doing this in the right direction. Yes, I am. So we're going to turn our tile, and now it turns into, actually, we don't even have to turn our tile. Don't turn your tile. Let's leave it up here. It's going to turn into Huggins, right? So we've got these two, and we're going to come underneath and connect them. That was a little lopsided. That's why it's easier to turn the tile. And then this will come up. So remember, warped eggs and Huggins is the same, under, over. And so if we had one over here, we would go like that. Now, the difference here is so now that we've done that, it's in each column, it's going to be the same direction, right? So it's going to be very easy. We don't even have to think about it. We're just going to go like this because we did the same thing here. And then here. And with this one, it's all going to go over. See, over. And then that would go under because it's opposite going this way. But each column is the same direction. So that's funnels. Funnels. You can look it up, practice it. Fun. It's a fun pattern, funnels. Okay, so moving back to the tile. There we are. If you didn't complete your funnels, you can do that now. What I'm going to do is kind of go over these circles a little bit darker. Got some white specks in there. And when we shade this, it's going to really change the look of it. And now I'm going to move over to charred. This is charred. And what we did here, we did a grid. And then I didn't finish this, so I'm just going to show you. So we did a grid like tic-tac-toe or checkerboard, right? Did that grid. And in each section, we do a diagonal line. Now on the top row, I drew the diagonal line in the same direction. Top left to bottom right in every square or rectangle. On the next row, I went the opposite direction. Top right, bottom left, right? So it almost looks like a zigzag. And that's important because that's part of this pattern. So let's see. And then we fill in the lines. So for the top row, it's all going to be the same in every section, where this top right, we're doing horizontal lines, and then the bottom, or the other side, the left side here is vertical lines. Same thing. Now this is the same. These have wider spaces. These are thinner spaces. So you can go thin, thick. You can mix it up. Now I'm going to turn my tile so I can draw my vertical lines a little bit more comfortable and straighter. And then on the second row, we reverse it. So this top row, everything, each section will be the same. And then the bottom, we reverse it. So we've got the vertical lines here on the right side, or the bottom, and then top is the horizontal lines. So we just reverse. And then it's a lot of fun. So anything, so if you've already finished chart, anything up until this point, you can, if there's anything you've unfinished, go ahead and start and work on those if you're not already.
Jackie, it's Sheila. Are we gonna have time to do the four corners or no? Or that'll be just what you, that's in the email?
How did this happen? No, we'll do the 4 corners. I can't believe it's 4:30 already. Okay,
Mhm.
so yeah, we're definitely, because we're gonna do, we only have 2 more grids left,
Okay,
and I'll do those quickly, and then we'll do the 4 corners, yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, because we can finish the rest, again, you can finish all the rest on your own. I just want everyone to have clear instructions, because we went by so quickly, and it didn't get on the recording. So I will move along. You guys understand chart.
Understood.
Keep that on your own. So Neuron, this was Neuron. And what we did here is we did these, it was like a funky grid, almost like in Zeppel. Let me get out scrap paper. And thank you, Sheila, for that reminder. We'll move right along here. I know, I can't believe it. I thought 2 hours would be more than enough.
No
But,
rush, no rush.
yeah. So for Neuron, we just kind of did these lines. These are coming out kind of the same shape, but I'm trying to get them to be different. And then think of like a very messy grid, and then maybe lines going different ways. It's like a scribble. It's like a scribble grid. And then in each corner, like here's a section, we can color that in. We could put in a circle like right there. So we have, color in some little areas that you can take your pencil and color in a bigger section. So that's Neuron. And so that's Neuron there. And again, you can look that up to get more from that. And then here's our last grid. And this is a new one that I thought was kind of cool. And it's called Checkmate. Checkmate. And all we did here, look at this grid. It's so cool, right? So we did a grid. All right, actually, I'm going to get this piece of paper. All right, grid. And we have a line. We have a curved line. We have a straight line. We have a curved line. And that's kind of like what we did with this grid. And they're different widths, okay? So the straight line, we have these angles. The curved lines, we have these curves. So we've got this grid, right? So funky grid. And again, try to make these different widths. I didn't really do that very well. And then so for this one, I'm just going to put in arc lines. And then for the next one, there's straight diagonal lines. And then they alternate. So I think what makes this pattern is the grid having a curved, a straight, because usually when we do a grid, it's either all curved or all straight. So that's what's cool about this. And then we've got curved lines, straight lines, and they're different widths. You know, that's not all even. So we could draw another one here, put that there. So that's Checkmate. That's untanglepatterns.com. So that's a nice one. Okay, so those are the grids. Let's move to the four corners because we do want to get those done, and then we'll do some shading. All right. And of course, you might decide to leave your four corners blank and put in your own patterns that you'd like to put in. So this one, Dex, D-E-X, is a grid pattern. So I went through that very quickly last time, but didn't get on the recording, so I want to make sure that gets on. So what we did here is we're just drawing a grid. And I won't do the whole thing, but, and then, and in each section we're doing the same thing. We're drawing an X, and then we're drawing stripes on the right side and on the top. You know, I did this wrong. Sorry, guys. I'm going to put in that square. We want that square in the middle. So we do not draw an X. We just draw, right? There we go. And I'll do that again. So right here, we're going to draw a square in the middle. Color that in. And then draw a line from point to point, corner to corner there. Stripes on the right, stripes on the top, which I would turn my tile to get a better angle. And then we take our pencil, and I know we still have to do our tortilla on toast, and we, with our side of the pencil, we put in graphite on that side. And you can always change up, you know, if you decide you want to put the two stripes somewhere else, you can do that. So you can vary this. So I'll do one more, and then we'll move on to another pattern on the corners. And I'm happy to stay a few minutes extra if anybody wants me to review anything. And then you could take your tortillon. All right, so we're not going to all come together right now. We're going to do our tortillon toast. Let me just hear you. Pick up your tortillon. I mean, when I say I'm not coming back to you, but I see all of you. 1, 2, 3. Tortillon. Okay, and now we blend that in. Thank you, my tortillon ladies. Okay, so that's a really cool pattern. I really like that pattern. And now let's do Muka. So Muka basically is, there's so many different ways you can do Muka. So what we do, the biggest thing to remember is we draw this big arc line that comes around and starts to draw this orb on the end, comes up and then comes back down in orbs. And then from there you can bring in another one if you want to. So you can really have fun with this. So you can either keep them all single, you can keep them double, you can actually holly bow it. So, well, let me just show you again. So we're going to come up, around, nice and big, bring in that golf ball, come back down, aura. And then I might go the other direction, a little bit smaller, like that. It's very pretty. Now I'm going to holly bow it. Right? How do you holly bow it? Holly bow is going underneath. So I'm going to come up, I'm going to stop, Imagine it's going underneath, come around, give it that aura. So you can have lots of fun with this pattern. And I think I did something on Summer Zen, one of the videos. I do something really cool with this pattern. So you'll have to check that out in July when it's posted. Okay, that's Mooka, M-O-O-K-A. And if you've never done this pattern, look it up and see all the different things you can do with it. Okay, 2 more patterns to go. Now this is 3Y hemp. All you're going to do is draw triangles that connect, right? So you're drawing these triangles, and you're going to fill. So if you filled the whole section with triangles, and then just do a couple right now, and then I will show you what to do inside that triangle. You can put a little dot just for frame of reference. You could do it with all of them, or you can go one at a time. And then from that dot, you're going to draw a line from each corner of that triangle. And that's it. And you just keep doing that over and over. And it creates a beautiful, this is one of my favorite patterns. I really love drawing it, and I love how it looks.
What is that called?
3Y hemp. 3Y hemp. And let's see, it's did I put it on the sheet? I think I did. Let's see. 4 corners. It's number 2 on the sheet. 3Y hemp. All right, now I'm going to show you the last one, and we saved the best. What?
Can we just do, because I'm lost on that one. On 3Y hemp, can you just do one in that corner again, just see how it starts? Do you start with the dots or the lines? Because it went, for me,
Triangle.
kind of quick.
All you do is you draw a triangle.
Okay,
All right, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to show you on a scrap piece of paper, right?
okay.
Draw a triangle. Put a little dot as a frame of reference in the middle, and just draw a line from every corner of that triangle to that dot.
Okay.
From the dot, that's it. That's the whole pattern.
Oh, okay.
Well, yeah, and it looks confusing because then you draw another triangle right next to it, from it, on it, right? And then you draw that.
Oh, now I see it. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So it's confusing because it had already started. You're probably like, what the heck just happened there?
So when you started it, did you start in the middle or did you, like, what was your first one? Does it matter?
Yeah, but it really doesn't matter, Sheila.
Okay.
What I did is I started in the middle, just like we did right here,
Yeah.
right? And did just like this, and then, you just draw another triangle off of that.
Yeah.
That's probably what I did.
Oh, okay. That's why. All right.
Yeah, so it really doesn't matter. You can actually start right here. Like you can really start right there. If
Gotcha.
it's easier. And I think I started in the middle so that everyone could see.
I'm with you. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, but it really doesn't matter.
Okay.
No, thank you for the question. I'm sure somebody else had that same question. So now, let's save the best for last, because this is my very famous pattern, owl line. It's the only pattern I have that's on tanglepatterns.com, the only one I submitted to be on tanglepatterns.com. And it's a lot. You can have a lot of fun with it. So what we did with this, I'm going to take my scrap paper, because it starts off where we start, almost like you're starting to draw a printemps, but then you come around kind of like an S shape, and then you draw another printemps or spiral. That's how it starts. And then we put in these hats, and you put them anywhere you want. So I start with an arc shape, and then I build off of that, coming in a little bit shorter on either end, and shorter, creating these layers. And you can add them anywhere you want. And then when you're done, if you think you're done adding, you can just keep adding wherever you'd like. And then to draw the next one and And the way we continue this is like a single S or a half a S. You just come around like a single, spiral like that. So we start off kind of with the spiral on either ends of an S kind of, and then when we continue on, we just kind of do a one single, and then here I would add in my hats. Again, I'm doing this really fast. And then once I'm done, I'll do another one, maybe go like this, wherever I want, and then draw my hats. So going back to here, you can see that I embellished them different ways. So this one has some highlight, kind of like that Barber Pole pattern. It's a nice embellishment. So I just kind of highlighted that. I put in stripes here, orbs here. Now, and then this was like, so I started with this one and then I had this one coming off. So if I do another one coming off and then put in my hats. Now I also, and this pattern is on my website on Jacki Patterns, and I also have another version of it doing more of a square rather than curvy. Now, if you want, you could put a little weight on these little tips. I always like to put little weight on these tips. Now, there's one thing else I want to show you about this pattern on what you can do with it is, see how I have these? I'm also going to do another layer right here, connecting those. So that gives it another look, if you like that look. It's kind of cool where you can add in more pyramids, if you will. And I'll show you what I mean here. And this, again, this is just like an option, another variation. So like right here, I could put in another. So that's owl line. All right, we have time for shading. We have to shade, because I don't want to do another recording or separate recording. Class, I don't mind, but All right, so let's get out our, and again, if you're not done, if you're not ready to shade, you can always look at the recording later or shade on your own or do some shading with me now. So let's see. So we left off, the only shading we did last time was this middle ring, middle area. So now we're going to do the outer area. And I'm just going to show you a little shading on each one, just so, because we don't have time to do it all. I mean, I'll show you, I don't have time to do the whole thing. So for example, here, let's start with number one, right? Number one. All right, so we've got Tripoli. This was Tripoli. And I think for this pattern, I'm going to just color in the background with some shading. Remember, shading isn't this, you might not want to do this. You might decide you want to do something different. So I'm just coloring in the background using the side of my pencil, putting some graphite down, and then taking the tortillon and smoothing it out. And it doesn't have to be perfect, it could be sporadic, so there's some white white spots is in the background as well. It's just got some shade, and I like that for this pattern. Makes those triangles stand out a little bit. All right. And remember, the shading doesn't show up as much on the camera as it does in real life. All right, so let's move on to number two. And so here, when this was Bunzo, and I already started to use graphite as part of the embellishments here, and I really like that look. Now, what you can do is take what's left on your tortillon, maybe go over, if you have any orbs, you can brush over some of those orbs to get a little coloring in there. You could, I'm going to put in a little bit of highlight. So I'm putting gray, using what's left of my tortillon, little graphite on either end of this white loop there. Maybe some here that has the black, rather than, I'm putting a little shading in these white areas over the orbs here. And maybe I'll just brush over this whole thing a little bit, make it a little graphite. So just touching up some graphite wherever you like, wherever it's white.
Can you get closer?
Oh, sorry about that.
Thank you.
Yep. So, so I kind of, this one very lightly, I brushed over, put a little bit on either end of these white areas, having a nice white highlight in the middle here. So even that touches that up. And I'm probably going to add to this. I mean, I really like how it looks, but I might add I have some white space, which is fine. White space is good. And I might just add some more bunzos later on. So I'm going to move on now to 3. What pattern was this? Anybody know? Oh, this is bonsai. Bonsai. This was a new pattern. So here, I'm going to look to see where it looks like it's going underneath. So like right here, it looks like it's going underneath a little bit. So I'll put a little graphite, taking the point. I'm using the side, but the point is focused right along the edge there of those petals on the inside. And then taking that protein and smoothing that out. And you can even push it up a little bit to either side, making sure there's still some white as a highlight. So that's my suggestion there, is wherever it looks like right here, see how this is kind of overlapping? I'm going to put a little graphite on this petal because it looks like it's underneath those petals. And I can even take what's left of my tortillon and brush over these little areas where it looks like it's just going underneath or where they're connecting. And another thing is you can, maybe some of these white ones, maybe little dab in on the tips here. Very lightly. So I'm going darker in the crevices where it looks like it's connecting, going underneath. And then on the tops of the petals, on some of them, I'm just dabbing a little bit to soften that white. Okay, moving on. Now, just so you guys know, I'm going to keep going if we don't finish by 5 o'clock because I want, I want to have the recording done. So if anyone needs to log off, that's fine. But and we still have 10 minutes. But if we're not done, I'm going to keep going with the shading because I want it to be complete. Okay, so now we've got crazy eights, lazy eights, not crazy eights, lazy eights. And here, I think I'll put a little bit on either side of these stripes on the petals, across these orbs. I mean, really, just listen to your intuition here. There's no right or wrong. Where would you like to put a little graphite? What do you think would make it pop? So I like to put a little bit like on these curves here, the roundish edges, kind of emphasizes the round. So I'm focusing on the petals. You could also focus on the background if you wanted to. I'm just going to focus kind of like on the edges of the petals or the sides, or a little, and I'm just using what's left of my tortillon just to give it a little bit of graphite, a little shading. And then maybe I'll go the corners of this whole section because I've got some white space right here, so I'll just put a little bit there. Listen to your intuition for this one. Just a little bit makes a big difference. So this was a fun one, 5. This is Spangle. So to me, this was like, if you put it this way, where am I here? It almost looks like fishes flowing up in one direction. And see how I have a little eye there? In the step out, that's what they did. They put a little eye because it looks like fishies. But you don't have to put that eye, and it doesn't have to look like fishies. And what we did is we put different designs in each one, and I could go back and fill in more designs, but I think that's good. So I'm going to take still what's left of my tortillon because it's so small, and I'm just going to take some of these ones that I have patterns in, and just kind of focus on one side, like the right side or the bottom side. And if it's the whole thing, that's okay. And then I'll do tops and bottoms of these white ones. The tips, so either tip, I'm just putting a little graphite on either tip of some, you don't have to do all. And I'm just using what's left of my tortillon. Just enough to soften it. So with this one, Keens or Keenies, this pattern, I'm going to, now you could just take your tortillon and brush over the orbs. I think I'll do that a little bit, just to soften it. And then I'm going to take my pencil and I'm just going to pick one side of each one of these Keenies. And then smooth it out. And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take what's left of my tortillon and just give this an aura. So I'm kind of just on the inside, just going to kind of round it off, giving it an inside aura. So I'm not coloring in the whole thing, I'm just giving it a little highlight on the right on the inside of that arc shape. So we've got a few different shadings. We shaded a little bit over the orbs, colored in a whole section, and then highlighted one section. So there's still white there, then I left another one white. No right or wrong, lots of different ways to shade. So for number 7, this is loop fill. This is another new one that I thought was fun. So I'm going to take my pencil and wherever it looks like it's going underneath, like this one looks like it's going underneath. So I'm going to turn my tile actually because I want my pencil to face the line. So I'm going to go right like that and then blend that in. So as I'm blending this in, I'm going to push it out a little bit more. We've got lots of room here. And so I'm still leaving white, but I've got some right along the edge there. And you can see how different that looks. So I'm going to do that wherever it looks like it's going underneath. So here's one that's going underneath. So I'll go right, some shading there. Bring it up a little bit on 2 or 3 sides. And so right here's the nice white space, right? So I'm just gonna, with my tortillon, give it a little arc, little aura here. Right inside that petal, so it's a lighter shade. Oh, do you hear that thunder?
Oh, I'm jealous.
Okay, so now, boy, we've got a lot to do. All right, so for this one, I'm just going to take my tortillon and I'll do a little bit of shading in these petals, maybe just on one side. I think that's all I'll do with that one. So I'm just shading one side of these petals on this Fugo. That was our password last time, Fugo. So for Fun Bee, we're going to take the pencil right along the edge, top edge, put a little graphite. Then color that in, staying close to the edge. Making sure we've got nice white in the middle here, so we're just shading the edge, gives it that round look. And then I'll do the same for each petal. And I'm using what's left of my tortillon. For Tamari, I'm going to go where it looks like it's going underneath. I'm going to put some shading wherever it looks like it's going underneath. Sometimes I get too lazy to turn my tile and face my tortillon towards the line, so, but that's okay. And then with some of these, I'll put a little bit, you know, right along the edges. And that's good. And then for this one here, which is, what's the name of this one? Spoolies. Spoolies. So I'm going to shade where it connects right here. Again, looks like it's going underneath. I'm going to go pretty dark, wherever it looks like it's connecting. You could always add later. Sometimes I'd like to start light. Sometimes I feel like just going for it. So this particular one, I feel safe enough. And maybe right here, put a little graphite. So wherever it looks like it's going underneath or connecting. So this is where it looks like right here, here. And then just blending that in, little circular motions. You can push it out a little bit if you like. Remember, shading is not about the light source, it's just about making it pop and making it, giving it some oomph. That's all you need. And everyone's going to shade differently. But this is kind of a fun pattern to shade. All right, now we're going to Ya. Y-A-H, Ya. And again, I'm just going to go right where it looks like it's going underneath. Either edge is here. I'm going fairly dark. I'm pressing down on my pencil. Going under the tunnels, a lot of tunnels here. Just like in the villages, a lot of golf cart tunnels. For those of you who have been to the villages, which is most. Oh, wow, we got another ring done, a layer. So we still have the outer layer to shade and the four corners. Let's take a nice deep breath in and out. Shake out your wrists, relax, because we're going at a much faster pace than we're used to. And some of you just might be tangling right now, which is fine, absolutely fine. Whatever it takes to get you to keep tangling on your spinner. Okay, so now let's start with number 1. And I'm going to go right to Buttercup. I don't even know if, yeah, actually I am going to shade the thin ones. But I'm going to start, let's start with the outer layer, then I'll go back to the inner layer. So let's go with Buttercup. I'm just going to put some graphite right along the edges of each one of these petals, just kind of in one area, like just one side of each one, little graphite, and then blend that in, staying kind of close to that section. So I'll do that with each one of these. And if you're not sure, like where, like think of maybe all four corners, and then that's inside the petals of each four corner. It doesn't have to be, it's just a nice, if you're thinking of, you're not sure where to do it, that's one way to think of it. And then I'm pushing it out a little bit on either side, making sure we've still got a lot of white in the middle. Really looks nice. And to shade piano keys, I think I'll take what's left of my tortillon, and I'm just gonna go right across the bottom here, or top, however you want, opposite the keys, just a little bit shading right there. Okay, with Cadence, I'm gonna pick one side. So to the right of each one of these S's, I'm putting a little bit of graphite. I'm going to do that on every one.
Right.
What?
Never mind.
To the right. Yeah, to the right.
But if you have it upside down.
This is upside down?
Well, yeah.
There's no upside down or right side up in Zentangle.
Well, I know.
I hear what you're saying though. So you have it like this? You have it like this?
No, I have it like you had it.
Okay. All right. So we're going to, it really doesn't matter. It could be the right, the left. I'm just picking one side and putting a little shading right next to it. And then we'll just blend that in. Now if I turn my light off, let's see if you could see it. No, that's worse. Okay, good, it's dark here. Good, it's rainy. So I'm staying very close to those S's, and I'm going little circular motions. And then for Xander, I'm going to do some shading on either side, in between the bands, either side of this log, because to me it looks like a log. And then blend that in. So I'm just giving it an aura on either side, little inside shaded aura is what I call it. So that the middle stays white and it kind of lifts up a little bit. That's what I'm doing. Okay, so with this one, I love this pattern. Rosafo. So I'm not done with it, as you can see. So I'll shade this section here. And I'm going to shade right on either end of these stems. These stems with the stripes, I'll do that. And remember, there's no right or wrong, and there's all different ways to shade. If you want to shade a different way, you go for it. So that I'm going to do that, and then leaving that white highlight in the middle. Then I think I'll go right around, getting the bottom of each one of these petals. So going right around this little circle with some shading. That was a little lopsided. I made a little boo-boo when I did that, but that's okay.
Meant to be.
That's right. Thank you, Bonnie. That's That's right. That's right. I say I'm a perfect example of no perfection, I'll tell you that, and being okay with it. Okay, so that's Wasafu. And then for Amy's, I'm going to take a little bit of, I don't have much, I'm going to actually take my pencil and I'm just going to put a little bit on opposite sides. You can just pick one side. And I'm alternating. Maybe push it around, push it to the top a little bit. So there's my Edie's. And now we're going to Huggins. And shading in Huggins is going to change the whole look of it. I just love what happens when we shade Huggins. So again, I'm going to go underneath.
Jackie, I'm going to have to log off, but I want to say thank you for this great class and for doing this extra session.
You're
And
welcome. And check back and watch the video. I'll send you the link.
I will. And I'll thank you for telling me about the class at Fishhawk. So I hope to see you there in the fall.
Awesome.
Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you. Nice to meet everybody.
Take care.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Okay. So basically what I'm doing is here, I'm focusing on the long ones on either end of the ones that look going long way, like horizontally. Because that's what happen is you're going to do the same thing with this. So let's say, so if I turn this like this, then those are now horizontally. So I'm going to do those as well. Right. So in other words, they're either edges of these long ones, and then either tops and bottoms. So sides of the long ones and tops and bottoms.
I don't get that.
And then blend them in. Somebody got the hiccups.
Side-
You say good gesundheit and God bless you when people sneeze, but when they cough and have the hiccups, what do you say? Boo!
I don't have anything for that except for, may God bless. But for a cough, my mother used to always say gracious.
All right, gracious.
That's what I do. That's what I do to my kids when they would cough. I'd gracious.
You see how it really changes the look? I mean, it looks so lovely. I think it really makes it very rich looking. I just love the look of shading with Huggins. Okay, so I'm going to move on. We can always finish shading that later. I just want to point out, it's either the either end of each one of these. Um, they're not petals, but whatever they are. Chains, I don't know. Okay, Shattuck. We could definitely shade Shattuck. And I'm just going to pick where they connect. Where it looks like they're going underneath.
They all look like they're going underneath.
And then with print tool, I'm just going to use what's left of my tortillon and go right in the middle, do a little brush off in the middle. Now with print tool too, if you want, you can add a little weight on those edges to kind of make it look a little, give it a little oomph. And you can also darken some other areas, giving some weight on some of these layers in print tool to kind of spruce it up a little. So beeline, you don't have to shade it because we already, part of the pattern was shading, so I wouldn't even do anything else with that, beeline. But with Burr Street, lots of things we can do here. And I think I'm gonna go right above these arc lines. So again, where it looks like it's going underneath. So I'm outlining the diamond shape with graphite. Blending it in with my tortillon.
I think this looks like a nest of owls.
Owls, yeah. Yeah.
At least mine does.
Yes, I totally can see that. And what I'm doing here is not only am I sticking to one, but with what's left in the tortillon, I'm kind of brushing off the outside edges of those sections as well. And then I'm going to put a little bit of graphite on the inside, just outlining the inside, using what's left of my tortillon. And I'm going to go in the middle, making this little round highlight in the middle. So I think I'm going to take my pencil. When I go over here, I'm going to take my pencil instead of just what's left of my tortillon to show you what I was just doing. Because I think I'd like a little bit more graphite. So I'm just outlining that diamond shape, but on the inside. And then blending it in so that it stays white in the middle. And give it a little oomph in that middle part. Okay, so with Barber Pole, I'm going to do the same thing we did with Xander, which was that log, and I'm going on either side, and just blending that in, keeping white in the middle. But when you do that on either side, it really gives it that 3D look and makes it lift off the paper a little bit. I hope that wasn't my house.
That's my mailbox warning every time somebody goes by a mailbox.
Oh my God, that would drive me crazy. Oh my gosh. I thought somebody's smoke detector was going off.
No, we had a series of young people looking in mailboxes and taking stuff. So I just put a thingy in there. So
Well,
yeah,
that's good. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Very good.
yeah,
Okay.
you get used to it.
All right, so now we're going to warped eggs, and it's just like Huggins, so we're going to shade the same way, sort of. Am I going to shade the same way? So yeah, so I'm going to go where it looks like it's going underneath. I actually go, I'm actually pushing it over on the other, I'm kind of giving it a whole outline. I just felt like going on the other side as well, but basically you want to get that where it goes underneath. So it'll be right here. So really pretty much the same type of shading. And again, this, well, I think shading really makes this pattern as well. I'll just do a couple. I'll do one more of these and then we'll move on to the next. I guess if I do another spinner class, it has to be a 2 full days or something. Okay. All right. Oh, and for this one in here, it was just orbs that we did. I think I'm just going to take what's left of my tortilla and just kind of just brush over it. Wherever it lands, it lands. So they'll have a little bit of a shade. Now with this one here, this is called Row Row. I'm going to do the same thing wherever it looks like it's going underneath. I think I'll just do the same. I'm just going to do the same area, just kind of ordering that kind of that right side. And then I'm going to take this area here and just put a little bit right on the bottom because it's curved. And whenever you see like a curve, roundish area, I'm going to go on top as well. Kind of emphasizes that. So I'm kind of going all the way around the borders as well as where it connects. And then for bales, I think what I'm going to do with bales, I'm going to put in some shading in every other petal. Every other petal. And then blend that in. And the other thing I'm going to do with this pattern is I'm going to do a pillow. So very lightly using the side of the pencil, I'm going to go all around the perimeter of this whole section. Very lightly. And then blend it in, creating that pillow effect. And now with the funnels, we're going to do the same thing that we did with Cadence. So I'm just going to pick one side of those S's. I'm going right to the right side of these S's. And if you're left-handed, you might want to go do the left side. And then blend it in. When I taught the spinner class in a 3-hour in-person class a few months ago here at the Villages, we did half of it. And so I thought 6 hours would be enough, but this class was a lot different. I added a lot more patterns. The way I did it before is we did 6 pyramids at a time and then we duplicated the whole thing, 6 pieces of pie. So I think you know, this time I just had a lot more patterns, and I think that's what did it.
I think this could do with 2 days of 5 hours each. I
Yeah,
really do.
exactly.
Which
If,
you really need to charge for, Jackie. This is over and above.
oh, well, thank you. Oh, please. Yeah, but, you know, happy to do it. So thank you. So now for doodad, I'm going to do the same thing either side. I'm going real close to the edges and blending that in right along the edges. Well, you guys mean a lot to me because, you know, you guys been with me for a while now, and so I like to show my appreciation. Now with Boulder Builder, I'm going to take what's left of my tortillon and I'm just going to brush through it. You know, you could be more specific if you'd like, but I'm just going to go right over it, and that alone made a difference to me. Just brushed right over it lightly, so it'll just be, you know, uneven. Now with chard, let's see what we'll do here. We're going to, I'm just going to go right along. I'm going to do 2 sides of this top one. Actually, I'm going to do a perimeter, all around the perimeter, leaving the middle white. And I might do that with this one as well. And actually, I'm going to go right down the middle of this line, right over that line, to give it some depth. So I'm going right down the middle, putting some graphite, kind of going in a circular motion back and forth. And I'm also putting some along the whole perimeter. And I'm going to go darker. I'm pressing a little bit harder with my tortillon on this middle divider line, and then lightly along the perimeter putting some graphite. Okay, I'm going to move on now. We'll do one more. I'll do one more. So I'm going to go right down the middle. And again, you might want to shade a different way. Perfectly fine. Okay, so now, and for Neuron, again, I'm not going to shade this because we do have graphite in as part of this pattern. The only thing I would suggest if you wanted to, you could just add more graphite here and there in sections. But once you're all done, what you might want to do, and I'll do that right now to show you, is I'll do a pillow shading. So I'm going to go all the way around the perimeter, putting some graphite down, kind of messy, and then I'll just smooth it out. This way I can still fill this in later. I'm still going to work on this pattern, putting in more ink and graphite, all that. But I like this as a pillow or cushion all along the perimeter. Okay. And then with Emingle, I'm just going to put a little bit in the middle there. Just what's left of my tortillon, just give it a little bit of shading. Okay, almost done. After this, we've got the 4 corners, and then we're done. Okay, so with betweed, I'm going to do the same thing with betweed, either edge, either end. I mean, you could go like right down the middle there, but I'm just going to go either side. And then for Checkmate, I'm gonna go to the left of the right border. So here you've got the right line here. I'm gonna go to the left of that. Right line, left of that right line. Or you could say right of that whole section, but right on the inside that line. Now I'm gonna do this the right way. I'm gonna I'm gonna point my tortillon towards that line. That's the correct way to shade usually, but I don't always do that because I only learned that recently. I've been shading, you know, for 7 years without, when I took a class with Joanne Quincy from England or wherever, somewhere out there. I don't know if she's in Wales or Scotland. I don't know where she is, but she's somewhere out there. And this is what she taught me. So now I do it, or at least I tell you guys. Now with this pattern, you can always, you know, it's just lines. You can, you know, you can change it up. You can either, you know, with some sections, you could have more lines than others. You know, maybe if I wanted to put in some more stripes here. Or you could, you know, also do some embellishments if you want to. Maybe put in some orbs. You know, every near and there, you could put in just some stripes. And you could also highlight. You know, you could do a highlight. So just different ways to embellish if you decide you would like to do that. Okay. All right. Woohoo! We're getting there. Let's see. We only have the 4 corners left for shading, I think. If I missed something, let me know.
Excuse me, Jackie. I'm gonna sign off also because I still have to finish my 4 corners. They're not complete at all.
Okay, so this is what I want you to, you know, just, well, I'll send you all an email, but remember, when it's done, you got to email me copies. You can still post on the Facebook page, but email me copies and I'll put together a mosaic and we'll see how each one is done. I know
Okay.
so great. Well, I'm glad you were here, Laura. I'm glad you didn't get bumped off this time.
So am I. And again, I will echo what has been said. Thank you so much for going beyond and taking care of finishing this up for us. It's much easier for me to watch you do it. And I was glad that you had the previous tape, so the recording, so I could catch up. So again, thanks. Mwah.
Mwah. Well, thank you for being here. You're very welcome. Thank you.
All righty. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye. Okay, so we're
Laura.
okay. So 4 more patterns to demonstrate shading, and then we will gather whoever's left. So for this one, again, decks, I'm not going to do any shading because we already are using some shading in that. So I'm not going to, I'm not going to do any shading for that. I mean, you could, I guess, but. So, okay, if you were to do some shading, I would go into the edges here where the lines are. And I could even put a little bit of shading where the white is. So yeah, could do that. Could do that. I would wait till you're all done and you can see if you want to add any shading to that. Let's go to Muka. Muka. So for Muka, I like to shade the balls at the edge here. I had a teacher once who called them golf balls, so that I kind of like that the golf balls. And so I'm just going along the edges, blending that in, leaving some white in the middle, pushing it out a little bit. You can really push it all the way down if you want, all the way down, kind of focusing on one side. There's another little, but I like to emphasize these balls. Push that down. Yeah, that's all the shading you really need to do for that. Okay, so now we'll go to 3Y hemp. And so with 3Y hemp, what I like to do is just like in Neuron and some of the other patterns like Dex, randomly color in a few of these petals and then blend them in with your tortillon. That's what I like to do with that. And if you want in the middle, you could put a little bit of circular. Yeah, so that's what I usually do with that one. Now with Owlline, so what I like to do with Owlline is just like is use shading as an embellishment. So I could put in some shading on either end of a hat here, a layer, even a highlight in the middle or not. Actually, I could color that whole thing in. Kind of like in Bunzo. See Bunzo here? So you could do some things like that with the shading. I know it's a little foggy right now. Okay, let's fix that. There we go. So you see I'll use here the shading with the highlight in the middle. You could do that as well here. But for the actual shading, I would take one side, and that's how I shade this. And actually, we're going to do it the correct way. Face that tortillon towards the edge. So that's how I shade Owlline, just by focusing on one side of each one of these layers. You could also maybe put a little bit in the middle if you wanted to. Okay, I am going to stop the recording.